It's interesting when things don't happen exactly the way you want them to happen, you start questioning God and not questioning just your understanding. This is not for everybody, but for those like me, who grew up and didn't understand how to process information from the standpoint of being a child up to being an adult. In other words, wasn't taught how to rightly think about things. We send ourselves through we start to doubt things we shouldn't doubt. We start to believe things we shouldn't believe because our understanding is lacking. We don't want to take responsibility for it. Sometimes we want to blame other parties. I'm talking about in my life. Maybe it doesn't pertain to you. But there has been times in my life when I have struggled to understand why people were treating me a certain way. And I realized, well, not fast, but over a period, as I got older, I've come to understand that, wait a minute, they're treating me based upon how I'm treating them. Somewhere in there should be maturity. But oftentimes there just isn't, because we're interacting with other people who are interacting with other people based upon their past biases. No one is saving anyone. No one is saving anyone. Everyone is just living. No one is grabbing someone and saying, hey, don't think that way. You're a part of the family. You're a part of the same team. We're going to be okay. We're working this thing out together. We're growing. I have issues. I think you have something that you're dealing with. Let's deal with it together. That doesn't necessarily happen unless there's a deep connection with, as like with a family member or somebody you've known all your life or something like that. But when walking into an environment where people aren't necessarily familiar with each other and each other's motives and intentions, the insecurity grabs hold. Not recognizing that it changes the whole atmosphere. Expectations start to happen. Like they're supposed to do this or that instead of seeing that they haven't done this and that and covering the difference. I was out with one of my mentors and I was shaking the hands of everybody at the table and I wasn't addressing any of the women. Reason why is because I was accused years ago of hitting on every woman. So I have a thing in me that's subconscious, which is, unless the woman is much older, where I try not to, it's something in me that's uncomfortable about walking up to most women. Unless I'm really comfortable with them. So I was talking to Dad. I call him Dad because he's older than me, and I try to be respectful to him, and we're a member of the same organization. And I shook everybody's hands. He says, "Now go go greet my wife." I said, "Yes, sir." Yes, sir. So I greeted his wife, and it's and just so and everything isn't a sexual, you trying to get over type of attitude, which some people will treat you like. I know, I've been treated that way. This is an 80-plus-year-old woman. Had nothing to do with any of those things. It's just there's something in me that unless I'm comfortable with the person, and I only met her one time, I just try to not deal with it. Talking about the Passover, by the way. So it's very uncomfortable for me unless I'm around people I'm comfortable with, and I was grateful for him checking me. Grateful. Because my intentions in my heart are right. We don't cover each other. But this is why I love God. Because he covers us. All of us. This is the Passover. This is the beginning of the year. This is starting in the 10th or 14th month, or whichever your perspective is. God is covering us and challenging us to do things together. If you don't know what my theme is in walking this out, my grandchildren and my brothers and sisters at Kenya and whomever, I'm not sure if it's who or whom. I think it's whomever. Whomever else is paying attention to this content, God bless you. I hope this is helpful. If it is, share these videos. Like and share these videos. Share them with your congregation. Share them with your friends, your family, whomever else you think they'll help. In the Passover, the large families ate together and the smaller families ate with their neighbors. It was all about coming together, sharing a meal. It was the Passover. We're in Numbers, but in the book of Exodus, chapter 12, there were particular things that were done because it was the first time that they had experienced Passover, and this generation was unfamiliar with it. There was a calling together. And what I was going to say is, and I just lost because I lost the train of thought, is, what I was going to say is, if you haven't figured it out, this is all what the Bible is, if not anything else, is teaching unity to all the tribes. All the tribes. So the idea is that we work together as we did in Exodus chapter 12 during the Passover, because the firstborn of Egypt was going to die. It was, I think it was the last miracle before they were let go. Why did the firstborn of Egypt have to die? They were sacrificed. And I'm going to jump a little bit, just as God's firstborn was sacrificed for the release of those who were called to go and worship God the Father. The one that Moses was representing. He had called his people out of the land of Egypt, and the authority would not let them go. Because the authority, his authority, hardened his heart. Now, I want you to understand that God is in control of all this. When I think of God, you guys think oftentimes of a man. Because he's God the Father, he's God the Son, he's God the Spirit, he's God, period. God is God. God is all things. God is the elements. He is fire. He is water. He's the air you breathe, the pneuma. He created your soul. I know that's hard for most people, especially the New Testament Christian, to understand, because they think of him only in the personhood when he is all things. All things are of God, the earth, the universe, beyond. So when he created the system of operating, the kingdom of God, seek ye first the kingdom of God, right? New Testament. And all these things will be added to you. It's all about understanding the heart of God and operating according to his system. The Passover and recognizing the Passover is part of his system of operating. In doing so, there is a recognition of an outside power that is calling us out of our metaphorical Egypt, our metaphorical lives, our metaphorical, look up the word metaphorical for you, for my brothers and sisters in Kenya. Our metaphorical, see, because I know we don't like to do type and shadow, but you can't understand the language of the Greeks and the Hebrews unless you get into the metaphorical nature, because this is 2024. There is a calling out of the world system. Egypt at the time was the world system because they had turned away from the system of operating of Joseph and had begun their own system. Nothing wrong with that, but there was a calling out of the Israelis, as they're called. Children of Israel, which were the children of Jacob, tribe of Jacob, which were all these different families. The real Israel. Not just the Ashkenazi Jews, which occupy Israel today in 2024. It's just one tribe of the overall tribes of Israel. But throughout time, things get lost. But there comes a time, as there is coming right now, a day when all the tribes must recognize the kingdom of God. And part of that is the Passover. This is the coming together and eating together and recognizing that God is calling us out of our metaphorical world lives in Egypt. But who is our Moses? God even sets forth the Moses, the metaphorical Moses, which comes to teach us about the real nature and character of God that calls us back to the Passover, which is the lamb, the unleavened bread with oil and herbs, frankincense in particular. This is done fully clothed, doing your job, or staff in hand, if you will. This is done accepting, working with the smaller families or the neighbors, making sure that the lamb is fully consumed. This is a coming together, closing the door, blood on the post, covering you as God passes through and takes out the world system. A cleansing happens, where the leaders come to a place where they're required to recognize God's people and their freedom. Required. Required. What does this mean? It means opportunities open up for you who are called according to his purpose. His purpose is always to get you to a place where you go into the land, dwell in safety, but you have to fight for it. And you cannot fight for it by yourself. You have to fight for it with the tribes, his family, together, in unity. But before that, you have to have a Passover that is recognized. And this is the part that I think a lot of you are going to start to get, whether it's in my generation or the next. A Passover has to be recognized by all the families. Not just a cracker and some wine. It's actually taking the time to spend a night, because this was done at night, on the 14th day, sitting down, fully clothed. This is where you put on your best regalia. Fully clothed, with the family, eating a Passover dinner and not trying to get out of the sanctuary in an hour. This is where the Passover is shared from house to house with visitors of smaller family members. But everyone is included in different houses. Acts chapter 2. They went from house to house. We've gotten away from his practices, and I believe God is calling us back to his practices. Numbers chapter 9. This is the Passover, and I want you to catch one thing as I read this. He gave a summary, because he already gave it to you in Exodus chapter 12. And this is the reason why I went through some of the aspects of it, not all of it, but some of the aspects of it in Exodus chapter 12. And go back and study it for yourself. I think it starts from from verse 2 to about 12. Or 14 or 15 or something like that. Numbers chapter 9 says, verse 1, "And the Lord spake unto Moses in the wilderness of Sinai in the first month of the second year," so this is the second year, "after they come out of the land of Egypt, saying, Let the children of Israel also keep the Passover at his appointed season. In the 14th day of this month, at eve," or even, "ye shall keep it in his appointed season, according to all the rites of it, and according to all the ceremonies thereof shall ye keep it. And Moses spake unto," verse 4, "and Moses spake unto the children of Israel, and they should keep the Passover. And they kept the Passover," in verse 5, "on the 14th day of the month, at the even in the wilderness of Sinai, according to all that all that the Lord commanded Moses, so did the children of Israel." He didn't go all the way through the different rituals, blood posts, this, that, and the other, but it was followed. I'm saying this to you because we have a habit, in particular the modern day American Christian church, which affects many Christian churches around the world. And yes, I do believe I still call myself a born-again, spirit-filled, tongue-talking Christian, even though we were being mocked in, I think, in Antioch. somewhere around Acts chapter 10 or 12 or something like that. But it's a good name. I'm going to stick with it. Because I do believe in Jesus the Christ, the Son of the living God. I believe I have the Spirit of God. I believe I've been called to teach the spiritual. I believe I've been called to teach spiritual truths. Can't get away from it. Not happy unless I'm doing it. But we've gotten away from the basics. We have Christian churches today that choose who they want to celebrate with. And what I'm going over are people of different tribes celebrating together from the same Father. I don't think we all get that. Different tribes, same Father. If you can't get into if you can't see just said the word earlier, can't remember it now. If you can't see the simple message of different tribes from the same Father coming together, celebrating the same rites and rituals, as explained right here in Numbers chapter 9, which is starting on the first month, the 14th day. In Exodus chapter 10, it's right there, Exodus chapter 12, it was the first month of the 10th day that they chose the lamb, and they ate the lamb on the 14th day. So here he just said the 14th day. Same thing. But if we don't pass down these traditions together and worship God together, it becomes hard to manifest the presence of God together for anything other than our own little personal benefit. He is coming back for a perfected church, a church that gathers together for Him. That's the church I want to be a part of. CashApp $MrPaulDozier. CashApp $MrPaulDozier. I hope these are a benefit to you. If they are, please like and share these videos. In the meantime, God bless you.